Hi guys, Mandy from Olive's Tree. Thanks for stopping by today. Today's the beginning of my Easter sewing series, and all of my projects are going to be hand sewn, knitting only, needle, thread, some scissors and some pins as your base thing. And having said that, if you haven't got pins and you've got some tape or some pegs or whatever, we'll make it work. So what we're going to start off with first today is one of these. I'll just get these oval so that I can show you. So I'm making these adorable little Easter bags. So I've made 3 different ones, and I've made them all by hand using scraps of fabric. This one I've just popped a little face on. He's a bit cute. And they're just all made out of scraps. And I thought, if you're someone who wants to learn how to sew and you don't have anyone to show you, or you just don't know where to start or know what you'll need, I thought this is a great project for that to take place. And so I'm going to show you today just how easy this is. On top of, I'm not sure if you can see the whole pattern there. It's a bit tricky to get you into the right spot. I think that might be better. So what I've done is I've just drawn up a little pattern, and it's not difficult. It's 2 pieces of copy paper because it wasn't quite long enough, and I've put 2 sizes on. So the full length of the pattern makes a bag that's, hang on, let me get it in there where you can see, this big. And then if you cut your pattern line, your base line here, it'll make a little bit shorter bag. So I'm going to put a picture up through the video where you can actually see this. Take a screenshot, you can see the measurements, and you can just quickly, so all you need is a ruler, so simple. And I've pinned mine onto a piece of calico, and I'm just going to, all I need to do to start now is to cut around. And if we're going to cut around a pattern, this one has a seam allowance included in, and what that means is that I don't need to add any around the outside. I need to cut directly on this line all the way around. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that just so that you can see. If you haven't sewn before and you'd like to learn, this is a great first time beginner project, and a project that, would be lovely. You could make it for the kids, for nieces, nephews, grandchildren, whatever, neighbours' kids. If you don't celebrate Easter in its Easter Bunny tradition, it's also a great little gift bag for children's birthday parties or a little spring fair. If your school has a little fair or a fete to raise funds, you could do that. Little cake stalls, you could make someone put some little treats in there, some homemade biscuits. Lots of great things that you could use these for. So if you don't celebrate Easter in the Easter Bunny sense, you can still utilize this to make something wonderful. So I'm cutting it off at the bottom at the large edge here, and that's it. So now what we'll need to do, I've missed a bit. So we'll need 2, which I folded my fabric in half, and I should have said that. We'll need 2 for the lining, and we'll need 2 for the insert. So just let me come back to here and show you. So here's our outer fabric, and here's our lining. You can make them all with calico like I did with this fellow here. Here's the same material inside and out, so I had to cut 4 of that one fabric. But you need 2 outside and 2 inside. And then it is a matter of marking up. Now with my pen, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just mark in about 1/2 centimetre around and just do a light line. You might have a lead pencil or a fabric marker. Don't use a Sharpie or a texter that can bleed. That might not work out so well. Whoops, here goes a pen. And I haven't cut the bottom of this very straight, as you can see. I'll trim that up. once I do these lines. And the same thing, so this is just going to be our hand sewing line. And we just need to go along there as so. I'm just going to mark into here as well. And I'm also going to just, you know, scratch out a bit of a line around his little ears as well, just so that you've got something to follow. It can be really helpful. Now, if you don't have any sewing pins, you could use some pegs off your clothesline. You could also, if you had some sticky tape or masking tape, you could just cut little pieces and fold over and then just put your line over the top. It'll come off later. It'll be fine. You could also put in a staple, but I wouldn't put too many in case they damage your fabric. But if that's what you need to do to get it done, by all means, go ahead and do that. And then what we're going to do is we need to sew along here. And we can then, you know, we would proceed with the next one. So we would just start here sewing down, and I'll get a needle and thread and I'll actually show you that stitch that I'm going to use. And I'm using a bright pink thread so that it's easier for you to see. And most people that, if anyone sews, they won't need to watch this, but if you haven't sewn before, this could be very helpful for you. So I'm just I've come up through the back, and you can see now I've got that little stitch. I'm going to back stitch there because it's the start of my sewing. Just take note where I'm going in and out, and that's going to give us a nice strong starting off point. Now I'm not going to do that around the entire thing because it's got two pieces of fabric, but what I am going to do is I'm going to do a little nibble. I'm going to do a little nibble, so I've got my needle looks like this. I'm going to pull that through. If you wanted to back stitch every stitch, you can. I don't think it's necessary for this. It's not something that's going to get a lot of hard wear. And then after I've done those stitches, I'm going to go back down and do a little back stitch and come back up, and I've repeated that little stitch. So it's like a little lock insurance stitch, you might want to say, really. And then I'm going to go back to doing 3 little nibbles. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Just making sure we pull our fabric through, our thread through, but we're not puckering up our seam. Now I'm doing these stitches a little bit bigger than I normally would, and that's just so that you can see a little better if this is your first time sewing. So don't panic if you're thinking you've sewn before and you're thinking those stitches are huge. They are quite large, but this is for people that haven't ever sewn or made anything. And so we just keep going with our little nibbles. And we keep going all the way around until we get to here. And then we would just lock off that stitch. Now I'll do a couple more to show you, and then I'll just keep going and I'll stop there to show you how to end off, okay? So I'm just going to keep going here for a little bit, and then I'll catch you up at the end. Pen in my way. Just get your thread through, but don't pucker your seam. Okay. And as you can see, you're just basically repeating the same thing, a couple of little nibbles and then a little lock stitch over the back. Just making sure that your thread's coming through. Now, if you have a sewing machine, you could sew these together in, 10 minutes. You'd have it finished in 10 or 15 minutes. But if you don't have a sewing machine and you've never sewn, you could probably still do this in, half an hour or a little bit more. Your first one might take a little bit longer. And just, you might have mum, auntie, and nana, or a friend that sews that might be able to, might have some fabric scraps that you could use. Or they might have some pins and things that they don't use anymore that they might be happy to give to you. They might be able to gift you a little, they might have a little sewing basket. And that'd be fantastic. And I think that if you ever want to try a hobby, you should always try and do that initial trial without spending any money, because it's very easy to get caught up in a wave of excitement and realise that it's just not something you're going to continue with. And that can be a bit disappointing. So just ask Nana or Mum, Auntie, or I get a lot of fabrics from charity shops, and often they'll have little bundles of bags of cotton and needles and pins and all that sort of stuff. So, try in there. That's always a really good spot to find any sewing things. The only thing I would say you probably won't find there, but I'm not saying you definitely won't, is a pair of sharp scissors. But you can normally get a pair of scissors for about $7 at the supermarket, about the same at Spotlight. And if you don't let anyone use these for anything and you just keep them for sewing, for cutting fabric, they'll stay sharp for quite a while. Now, I know I just cut off down here, but that's because I'll come back and finish this later for another project, but I really want to get this to the point of where I'm up to with the other pieces of footage that I didn't accidentally delete. So when we're coming up to the end, we're just doing the same thing again, a little back stitch, nibble, nibble. And I know that this is really messy sewing, so all of you wonderful sewers out there, give me a break. I had chemo a couple of days ago and I'm feeling very shaky and uncoordinated. And I'm trying to put together a little tutorial for people who haven't sewn and who would really like to have a go. So cut me some slack, please. All right, so I've got to the end now. Let's have a little look. I'm going to go back into that back stitch. I'm going to come out at the same point, so just have a little check. Pull my needle through, and then I'm going to do a little nibble here of fabric, just a tiny little nibble, and I'm going to pull. Now you can see this loop. I'm just going to hook my needle through there and pull it tight to make a knot, and there's going to be a bit of pressure when we're turning these in the right way, so I'm going to do that twice. Okay, and then we would just snip that off. Now we would do the same with our second two pieces. So I'm just going to very quickly take these out, and you can see we've sewn, like there's the inside, here's the outside. So if you're using the same colour fabric, you're going to make another one the same. If you're using a different colour fabric, you're going to make another one the same. Now, if you don't have fabric at home, what could you use? You might have an odd pillow slip that's real, that you think, oh, I love that pillow slip. That'd be really sweet. You could do that. You might have a couple of cotton tea towels that you haven't used. You can use that. Shirts, frocks, sheets, if I haven't already said it. Perfect. Absolutely perfect to repurpose into cute little bags like these. And as you can see, when they're all put together, they're just two of these. So if I sit that like that, you can sort of see. So I've got my two, they're both sewn now, down and across the bottom. And the same on this one. And I'm just turning my lining in the right way, or out the right way. So now you can't see that seam. So this is going to be the lining of mine. So I'm going to leave my outer inside out. So if I put this in here, I'll just get it in and show you something that'll help you work it out. I mean, you probably have it worked out already. It's probably just me today. All right, so now when I have a look in here, I've got the right sides are together. See how I've got right sides together, wrong side out, but right sides together. Now the piece you put in the middle will always come out as the lining. So we need to remember that. Now we just need to line up these seams like so. And I'm going to put a pin in. And we've got it open now. So we've got one of each on one of each. And I'm going to put one pin in here, like so, and one down here. Now, if you don't have pins and you get to that point where you think, I've got no sticky tape, I've got no pins, I don't have any staples, what am I going to do? Your pegs maybe, they might not work. Well, that's simple. You'll just take your needle and thread and you would just do some giant big stitches like that, and I'll pull it out, so that's fine. I'll tie another knot, and you take these out at the end, of course, but this is what you do. So you would just do that around, and see how that will act as a pin. So don't panic if you don't have any of those other things. It's absolutely fine. So I'll just cut that now to pull it through, because you just pull it out when you're finished. So I've got a double thread. Whoops, hold on a sec. I'm just so fumbly. All right, let's just start. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to push that seam that way and this seam this way. So to that side, to that side. And I'm going to start right on that point where I did that last stitch. Just like so. And I'm going to do that, go back over that stitch, back stitch over it, get that nice and secure. I'm going to snip that off because it'll annoy me. Now, all we're going to do is go all the way around until we get to here. So you've got your line drawn, or if you haven't, you can do it as you go. That's okay. Get you where you can see. And just nibble, nibble, nibble. Whoops, I'll take out that pin. The white isn't as easy to see on here as the pink, I know, but I don't really want the pink showing on my finished project, and I think it will. It's very bright, but you can do whatever you want to do. It's up to you. This is your project. If you just want to make one out of any old thing to see how you go, use whatever. Use whatever you've got. Okay. It's supposed to be fun after all. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to make things yourself at home. You can spend as much or as little as you want or have. Okay, now that's a corner, so I class that as a corner because we've snipped into that. So I'm doing a back stitch, and I haven't got a pin. I've got to pin that. And a couple of little nibbles coming around. Alrighty, so I'm just going to do a little bit and we'll speed that up slightly. And you can just watch, or you can, whatever you want to do. You might want to have this cut out and sew along. That's also a really great idea because you're following the step and creating a memory. So when you go to make one yourself, you won't get confused like I did with my chemo brain. I'm going to end my cotton here. I'm going to do a back stitch. And then I'm going to take a nibble. And where'd my loops go? Pulled my cotton through too fast. Okay, pull my thread through. I'll do it again because I've got a little loop there and I don't think I can get that out. Okay, pull it through. Okay. So you can see this part here is, you know, fairly straightforward. We're just following along, following lines. Now this is number 1. I think I might have said this. This is number 1 in my hand sewing Easter series. And I hope to get this one up online tonight, which is the 19th of, what's today? No, not what is today. Today's the 19th of March, so I'm hoping to have this one up, Eastern Standard Time, Australia. I'm hoping to have it up tonight before I go to bed. And I would really love to have the next one up the next night. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself for a girl who keeps forgetting what she's doing. All right, so same thing again. I'm going to do a stitch. Oh, I didn't. Did I tie a knot? I thought I did. Sometimes that'll happen. If you pull your knot too tight, it will pull through. That's okay. Just tie another one. Or you can do a quilter's knot where you can go around your finger 3 times and then pull it through. That makes a bigger knot. I don't think it's really necessary on this, but if you want to do that, go for it. Okay, now we'll back stitch there because that's the start of a thread. And we will just nibble along, pull our thread through. I'll come back and I'll trim that one later. Back stitch, so where you end, where your thread comes out, nibble, nibble, nibble. Okay. Doesn't take that long, does it? Once you make one of these, you'll be able to, you know, whip them up so quickly, as I said. And you could also, once you get confident, start making little changes. You might think, oh, I want the ears bigger, or I want the bottom bigger, or I want the whole thing a little bit smaller. Just downsize it a little bit. I've just used 2 pieces of copy paper that the granddaughters had screwed up a bit in the drawer, and you know, I've made a bit of a shape. But if you were to go on Pinterest, say, you might find a printable pattern for free. I didn't bother looking, but I'm sure there would be a free printable pattern. But you honestly don't. You don't need it. You really don't need a pattern. Don't buy a pattern. This is something that you could work out. And if the first one isn't perfect, it doesn't really matter. It's only you that knows how it was supposed to come out. I mean, if your child was having a birthday party and you wanted to give out little, what do you call those little favour bags, you know, a little bag of something they take home, how great would this be? You know, that'd be an awesome thing. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend you do it if you have, you know, a lot of children coming, but if your child has you know, I guess up to 8 or 10 people to a birthday party, there's certainly no reason why you couldn't do this. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. Kids love rabbits. And it's something they can keep. You're not just sending them home with a bag full of those horrible party whistles and, yeah, just stuff that mums are just dying for them to go to sleep so it can go into the rubbish. Okay, so same thing. I'm just going to keep going around. So we're already halfway, which is amazing. So just nibble, nibble. Now, just make sure we've got this seam lined up because we don't want to have a gap. And we'll put one way and one the other way again. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Just got to make sure we're going to have a closed seam. So that's all good. We can continue going. And so we officially are halfway now. And I'm going to do a back stitch on each side of this seam, just because I just feel like I've got things nice and secure if I do that. I'm going to take that pin out because it's stabbed me quite a few times already. And okay, we're nearly down here, which is awesome. It hasn't taken that long, and having to pull this all out and start again hasn't dampened the enjoyment of this project for me. I'm actually really excited about this. So as I said, I'm going to make another one in reverse today with a face and with the fabric on the inside as the liner. But you could, you can draw their face, you can sew on eyes, you can get that sort of stuff. You know, you could sew on buttons for eyes if you wanted to and make a little bunny nose. Whatever you want to do. You could even make a pom-pom and stick on his bottom, which is the other thing that I think I might do. I think that's a bit sweet. And I have scrap wool here, so that's why I think I might do that. I know you can buy a ball of wool at Spotlight all year round for $2, which would make, look, you know, I don't know, 20 pom-poms. It'd make quite a few, so keep that in mind. Okay, we're almost around that corner. So we'll do a back stitch there. And I'm going to take that pin out. I've stabbed myself so many times. And I'm going to do just a little back stitch here as well. And then we're going to turn it in the right way and have a look. And ideally we'd give it an iron, but if you don't have an iron, don't worry, you don't need one. Okay, let's have a look at our handiwork. So this is what it looks like at the moment. Now we have this small opening here, and I'm hoping that I've left it large enough. So I'm going to start by going up into the ear and just pulling that down. And then I'm going to just get around to this ear and get my finger. If I've got a pin now, that's why it won't come off. Get my finger all the way up to here, push it in a little bit, and I should be able to just gently, don't pull too hard. Remember, this is hand sewing. And I may have, when I unpick some of my stitches, I may have them back without tying off the end of that stitch, so I have to just be a bit careful. And I did just there, see? Won't matter. So just take your time. Just take your time. Okay, now I'm going to, while I've got that, I'm going to get these corners nice. And we're going to pull out and move my little arm rester. Get a pin, or just your needle, or a chopstick, or a pen that's not popped out, you know, retract the ink. You don't want ink all over everything. You can put that inside and push it out. Okay. So just go slow. And I'm glad I switched to the white fabric to go around here. I think that was the best thing to do. And then we need to get these seams open a bit. So you just sort of need to wrangle them a little bit. Sort of get them nice and sharp. And as you do that, as you get one right, what I like to do, which is really simple, is just, you know, finger press it with your fingernail. So that'll stay like that now. And then just do the same. Come down, get your seam opened right up. Finger press, same down this side. I mean, if you don't have an iron and it's really annoying you that it's not really sharp and you have a hair straightener, you could certainly use a hair straightener on this. Make sure your fabric is cotton and not nylon, or it will melt. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm full of great ideas, but sometimes you need to troubleshoot to see whether they're going to be suitable for you to do. So yeah, okay, same thing. Just finger press around, down. I'm going to need my needle to pull out this one. And you know what, guys? Other than sewing up this little edge, we're just about done. How amazing is that? We could have sewn it into a little box down the bottom, and in fact I think I still may, even though I've turned it the right way. I'm not worried too much about that. Okay, alrighty, now let's pop the lining in. Because here's what we could have done before I turned it in the right way. We could have stitched across here, and we still could. There's always ways to troubleshoot. It would have been easier the other way, but what you can do is you can fold in a certain amount of your little corner, and then you could stitch along there in an invisible stitch, which would then make this have a bottom. So let's put a pin in there for demonstration purposes. Let's do the same on this side. And I should have done this when it was still turned. I'm not going to turn it back out. You'd get them the same, so you know you'd have them the same. And then when you tuck in your liner, it would make a little box on the bottom. Do you see what I'm saying, where I'm going with that? And there is even another way that you could do that, having, you know, knowing that I didn't think to do that at the right moment. I can basically pull this corner back out, line this seam up with this seam. I can turn it over that much, and I can just put a stitch, and that would be fine as well. And I may do that, or I may not. We'll just see how we go. So don't panic if you do miss a step. There's usually a way to pull a project back together. So let's get this one out. I mean, once you've got little Easter eggs and all little things in there, it's going to sit probably anyway, but let's just, for the sake of it, do this. And we do the same with the lining as well, but we wouldn't because I forgot about it. So now all we have to do is, see, I've got a little hole there. I'm going to have to mend that. Okay, that's not optimal. And here's our little turning, our little piece we're going to slip stitch closed is just here. So I think we'll do that first. We'll slip stitch that shut. And remember, you're not making a ball gown, so don't panic. Oh, I haven't got enough thread. Okay, we'll get some more thread. Maybe I can find, because I've literally got 5 minutes sewing to go, so maybe I can find some treats from my granddaughters, and we can put them in and see how it sits without those little gusset lines in the bottom that would turn the base into a bit of a square so that it would sit up. We'll have a little look, and if I think, oh look, I really do want it to sit like that, I'm just going to turn it over like that and fix it. I'm not going to turn it back in the other way. I'll remember when I do the next one. Now we snipped right into these corners, and on the next one I think I'll need to snip in a little further. That's not far enough because it's, you know, see how it's got that this little pucker here? We actually don't want that, and I have snipped in to those corners. So next one, guys, I'll pay more attention to that. And then so to close, what I'm going to do is come in. I've got that bit of pink thread there that's really annoying. Just pull my thread in, and I'm going to try and get this up over if I can. And we're just going to do little stitches just to close this up. I'm just going to try and hide that little bit of pink thread. Get this here so that you can see. So because this is a scrap of calico that I've had off a project, and the print came wrapped around some embroidered doilies, I haven't actually bought anything to make this one, and I just love that. If you had a pair of jeans, old jeans, you could make one of these out of a pair of old jeans. Nice, you know, pair of old softies that you probably don't want to part with. You could make it out of anything you want. You could make it out of a beautiful going out dress if you wanted to be a bit fancy, if they had some fancy fabric. Just do whatever you like, guys. The important thing is that if you want to give it a go, you give it a go. Now, there are a lot of ways we could have closed this. I'm just doing a sparse whip stitch. I could have done a ladder stitch, which would be completely invisible. But, you know, let's just start with the basics and just get it done. I've already decided that the next one I make, I'm going to extend the ears, I think. I think I'm going to make them longer. So there may be 2 pattern shots on this tutorial. But, you know, I just think that that's going to be something that I'm going to want to do. So I'll just keep going. I think that the poplin or the print, it would have been fine around these parts, but the calico is very stiff. If you've got calico that, you know, it's been washed a few times or something, you know, I don't know what you might have been using it for, who knows, but that would sit a lot better around those corners. I didn't want to snip them in any further because of what's happened here. But that's all right. We'll do a quick little mend and all will be well. Almost there. So shaky, I keep stabbing my finger. Now I've got a little knot. Just need to get one more stitch in there. There we go. Now I've opened it up. So if you're having trouble, just sort of, move it around, and if you don't think it's right when the needle goes through, take it out and have another go. And I'm going to end off now. I'm going to go through my loop, and I'm going to pass this through close to that stitch, just through one lot of the fabric, the top lot, like that. And I'll put a little bit of pressure on and snip it, and it'll disappear into the bag. So I still have to mend this bit here, but I'll do that off camera because I want to show you what we're going to end up with. So there's nothing in here to hold him up, which is a problem, and I've tied him around the wrong way. But you can see that we've got a cute little bunny bag, and if we had sewn across the bottom, it would stand up straight. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a stitch in there and there, and that'll work. That'll be fine. The inside won't have it, but that's fine, But I've got some things here I can put in it, and that might show you a bit of an option. Okay, guys, so my lovelies, let me present my two little Easter bags. And I've just done a little quick face on here with a felt marker and a little bit of crayon. This one I've left plain because we've got the lovely print on the outside. And I did gusset just on the bottom, and I went in and fixed that one as well. So they stand up on their own. They're all made out of, stuff that was already here, nothing bought to go in them, and I think they're just adorable, and no sewing machine needed. Great beginner project, and I hope that if you're sitting out there thinking you'd love to try it, that you'll just get yourself a needle and cotton, cut up an old dress or a shirt, anything, and give it a go. I've really loved everything about this project. Not having to have a sewing machine, being able to sit on my comfy chair while I'm, not feeling that great, and make this is just amazing. I'm really proud of them. And yeah, I really hope you'll give it a go. Now, the thing I'm going to say is I am going to draw up a pattern that's more legible and a bit tidier, and it will come up on the screen, and you will be able to take a screenshot with your phone, and you'll be able to, it'll have all of the measurements going this way and whatever for you to put it together. So if you decide to give this a go as your first sewing project and you feel like you're stuck, just drop me a comment in the comments under this vlog, and I'll do my very best to get back to you and help you out with that, okay? Yeah, it's just been so much fun. Now, this is the first, as I said, this is the first hand sewing project of my Easter series. I'm hoping I'll be well enough to put up another one again tomorrow or the next day. I know we're still in March, but some of us need a little bit of time to get organised, so that's why I'm getting in early. And as I'm progressing with treatment, I may not be able to sew it all. So I really want to get them done for you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing back how you've gone with your own little projects. So yeah, take care, everybody. I hope the world's treating you all kindly, and bye for now.